meeting to order. We're gonna stand, say the Pledge of Allegiance, but before then, I'd like to take a moment to just acknowledge the tragedy that happened to our school district over a month ago. We lost 4 beautiful souls. We still have several kiddos that are recovering and lots of other people that are struggling. So before we start the meeting, I just want to take this time and just have a moment of silence in recognition of all of them and what they're still going through. Thank you. And now we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Becky, I'll let you do a roll call.
Thank you. Boletta.
Here.
Coburn.
Here.
Jeffries. Here. Kolovich.
Here.
Light.
Here.
Ostermeyer.
Here.
Murphy.
Here. Moving on to section 3.01 is the approval of the agenda for our meeting of May 28th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move.
A second.
Can you guys make sure to say your names?
Here, Calvin.
Karen Calvin.
Boletta.
Yes.
Coburn.
Yes.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Kolovich.
Yes.
Light.
Yes.
Ostermeyer.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. 3.02, this is an action item from closed session. After reviewing the closed session minutes, the board will vote to approve the closed session minutes from April 23rd, 2025 and May 20th of 2025. Can I get a motion to approve?
Kolovich, I approve the motion.
Ball-Chatham, second.
Boletta.
Yes.
Coburn.
Yes.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Kolovich.
Yes.
Light.
Yes.
Ostermeyer.
Yes.
Murphy.
Moving on to section 3.03. This is a recommendation for termination. It is an action item. It is the recommendation of the administration to dismiss Mr. Mark Sassafaro, custodian, in accordance to board policy. Do I have a motion to accept the administration's recommendation?
Kolovich, I motion that.
Ostermeyer, I second.
Boletta.
Yes.
Coburn.
No.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Kolovich.
Yes.
Light.
Yes.
Ostermeyer.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Section 3.02, it is also the recommendation of the administration to dismiss Mr. Sean Bandy, custodian, for violation of Illinois state law and board review. Do I have a motion to accept the administration's recommendation?
Boletta, motion. Kolovich, second.
Boletta.
Yes.
Coburn.
Present.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Kolovich.
Yes.
Light.
Yes.
Ostermeyer.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Moving on to section 4, communications, 4.01. This is the opportunity for any citizen or visitor to address the school board concerning any agenda topic. Seeing none, we will move on. Yes,
Do I just speak from my seat?
you come to the podium, absolutely,
Is an agenda item Mark's firing?
absolutely,
So
yes.
I just wanted to speak to that because, Mark was on temporary disability. And, I think that there was a misunderstanding and the administration saw that he had been gone for a long time and felt that, he was getting worse maybe, or not going to get better. We were told that. They thought that he was not going to get better. But as he presented to you in his statement, he had a staph infection in his spine, and then he was getting better, and then it returned, and then he was getting better. Now you can see he's walking. After a second surgery in August, he was a deadlift out of the bed. I mean, he's regained a lot of his spine, so I feel like that's exactly what temporary disability is supposed to do. It's supposed to cover good employees who love their job and who wanna keep working, and something bad happens to them, cause a staph infection can happen to any one of us. And then it came back, and the doctor said when it happened the first time, it's a 1 in a million chance. Well, it was 2, 1 in a million times that it happened to him. And, you know, now he's finally almost ready to come back to work. Well, I don't know, I can't, he's almost, but he's walking, and he was in a wheelchair and a walker, and a cane, and now he's walking, and, the first we heard any communication Friday, we got a certified letter, and the subject line was termination of Mark Scasavero effective this date. So we're like, did we even have a chance to say anything, or you know, no one reached out and said, hey, are you getting better, or, you know, we assumed wrongly, obviously, that, IMRF and the schools communicating, because he went on, they had sent him to IMRF under temporary disability, and he, you know, was doing everything, and the physicians, all of his doctors, his spine surgeon, everybody's sending the physician statement every 6 months, you know, so he would be covered, and, I mean, we didn't think, let's call the school and make sure they know too, because I think you're all one unit, and, he really wants to come back to work, and he loves his job, and that was a huge motivator for me all the time. I can't wait till I'm better and I can go back to work. So, I know you have people that, like the other guy who got fired that broke Illinois state law, and people that may violate other, you know, rules and get fired for a reason, and his reason is he couldn't get back in time, because, you know, he might have known as fast as it does. So, I hope that, I guess, you've already voted that he's terminated, so I hope that he maybe is able to return at some point, and it's, not great, because he's losing senior year, number 17, I think it is. There's only like 6 people ahead of him right now, so he's gonna lose all that. So I just wanted that read into the record. Thank you for letting me see.
Thank you. Moving on to section 5, consent agendas. We have several things listed under consent agendas. Does anybody have any comments or questions, or would like to discuss any specific issue that will be approved under the consent agendas? If not, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items from section number 5.
Jeffrey,
Kolar, second.
Paletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries,
Yes.
Kolovec,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Section 6, personnel consent agenda items. Again, we have several items under here on the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or like to have further conversations about any topic on any of these consent agenda items?
Move forward with the same.
Can we get a motion to approve section 6 consent personnel agenda items?
I'll make a motion, Boletta.
I'll second Ostermeyer.
Paletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries,
Yes.
Kolovec,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Okay, moving on to section 7, new business. We have section 7.01, selection of the board committee assignments. This is informational only. We have them posted for our different committee members: finance, CACC representative, facilities and grounds, policy, student success, PTAC, and our ISB delegates. Anybody have any questions? I think everybody's been notified of assignments and appreciate your service on all these committees. Look forward to all the work that's coming out of it. So, moving on to section 7.02, the approval of a transportation building renovations. Mike, you were up.
Sir, good evening all. For those that I haven't met yet, my name is Mike Dowd. I'm the Director of Facilities and Grounds. Welcome to all the new board members. Appreciate you being here. So we went out to bid for a renovation project for the transportation building. If anybody's been over there, that building was built in 1996 and has had absolutely nothing done to it since 1996. So we went out for bids to do an upgrade project. So we're talking new lighting, new ceiling, new floors, complete restroom upgrade, So basically, the interior of the building will be completely upgraded. We did get 3 bidders. The most responsive bidder was Johnco Construction out of Mackinac, Illinois. If you look at this bid tabulation, you'll see alternate bid number 1, the $125,600 was to upgrade the northeast corner. There's like a storage room on the northeast corner of the building that's really not being used. So we asked them to give us an alternate bid, what it would take to make that a brick room. And it come in at $125,600. We denied it. That's just too much money for that corner of the building. It's a pretty small corner as well. So the base bid come in at $446,900. We always add a contingency to all of our projects, a 5% contingency. Architectural fees is roughly 9.5% of the project, plus they also charge us 2% for site visit fees. So basically, the whole project is $545.92. So I'm asking for approval for that amount of money for us to move ahead with this upgrade project.
Does anybody have any questions for Mike at all? All right, can I get a motion to approve the bid as presented?
I'll make a motion. Boletta?
Jeffries, second.
Boletta?
Yes.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Kulovic?
Yes.
Light?
Yes.
Ostomeyer?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Section 7.03, it is the approval of the final calendar for the 2024-2025 school year. It's the recommendation of the administration for the board to approve the final calendar and the addition of the 5 e-learning days in January, February, and April of 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the official calendar?
Motion to approve light.
I second it. Fullwick?
Boletta?
Yes.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Kulovic?
Yes.
Light?
Yes.
Ostomeyer?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Section 7.04 is the approval of the 2025-2026 out-of-state travel for our wonderful show choir. For those of you actually have been in attendance, they're quite amazing. They are a group of extremely talented young men and women that spend a tremendous amount of time perfecting their craft. So what we have before us is the approved out-of-town travel for them. You will notice that we're going to approve out-of-state travel for all the rest of our athletic teams, and it's significantly less than what our show choir is. However, they have their own boosters, and they pay for a significant amount of this on their own. You can see the different dates that they have. Anderson, Indiana in January, Troy, Missouri in February, Atkins, Wisconsin in February, Brownsburg, Indiana in March, and then Nashville, Tennessee in March as well. So can I get an approval to approve their out-of-state travel for the next year?
I'll make a motion. Boletta?
I'll second. Ostomeyer?
Boletta?
Yes.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Kulovic?
Yes.
Light?
Yes.
Ostomeyer?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Section 7.05, out-of-state travel for GHS athletics. Again, it's the recommendation of administration and the board to approve the Glenwood High School Athletic Department to allow the following sports teams to travel out of state to compete at various tournaments or invites. This would give student athletes additional opportunities to compete against high competition and enhance the overall student athletic experience. Expenses for these competitions will be covered as follows: transportation for all school bus and district activity bus vans, competition entry fees to be paid by the district, lodging for overnight trips will be paid by the district's travel budget. Second girls wrestling trip will be paid by camp funds per one overnight policy. Meals will be split between the district's travel budget and the sports camps account specifically. I won't go ahead and read all of the different travel for the fall and spring. It's there. Does anybody have any questions at all or any comments? Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve light.
Second. Boletta?
Boletta?
Yes.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Kolovik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Murphy.
Okay. Moving on to section 7.06, the approval of our student handbooks.
So our assistant principals are here in the back. They lead the alteration of our handbooks. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, and then I believe someone is speaking. They're gonna draw straws right there. Share with us, the updates, why we do the updates, and what those are this year. So if you, Kendall wants to.
Yeah, so I'm Kendall Gibson, currently the assistant principal at Gilman Intermediate School.
Jeff Rick, one of the assistant principals at Gilman Middle School.
Holly Rumbush, Ball Elementary.
Deanna Johnson, Chatham Elementary.
Ben Quitter, high school.
Kenya Davis, Glenwood Middle School.
And then Holly, you're going to.
Yeah, we are very, very easy tonight. So every spring we get together, we revise our handbook. We use our IPA model handbook for suggestions. The only changes that we have is to our district handbook, and it was just 2 recommendations for updated policy. And you should have a copy of those. Okay. And other than that, I don't think any other buildings had changes, right?
High school clarified some wording, one on academic dishonesty. The other was extremely minor.
Yep.
Well, both were minor. But.
And then there was a part about the threat assessment procedure that was recommended from our counselors. There's a very wordy version from IPA, and we just kind of condensed that, and the counselors at GES put that together. Just letting parents know that we do have a threat assessment policy in place and what that means.
Does anyone have any questions for any of our assistant principals in the audience?
Thank you.
This is an action item as well, so can I get a motion to approve the student handbooks for the 2025-26 school year for GHS, GMS, GIS, Glenwood, or elementary school? Oh, they have all, so it's one for Ball, Chatham, and Glenwood.
And
So
then
moved,
there's a
Coburn.
separate district one.
Okay.
Second, Jeffries. Boletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries,
Yes.
Kolovik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Section 7.07, the approval of the treasurer bond. It is a recommendation of the administration to approve the Illinois State Treasurer Bond for Travelers Casualty and Surety Company of America. Our finance director, Wendy Velakis, is here. Do you have any comments you would like to make on it?
No, this is just an annual thing that we have to do.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions at all? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved, Coburn.
Second, Boletta.
Boletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries,
Yes.
Kolovik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Section 7.08 is the approval of the audit by Mack and Associates. It's a recommendation of the administration that the board approve the audit engagement letter by Mack and Associates. This also is provided by Wendy Velakis, our finance director. And again, this is the engagement, so that we can have them on site to perform our annual audit that is required by state law. So, can I get an approval to approve the signature of the engagement letter?
So moved, Coburn.
Second, Ostermeyer.
Boletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries,
Yes.
Kolovik,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Section 7.09, the approval of our milk bid. Mr. Chad Martell is here to present that to us.
Chad Martell, Director of Food Service, for those of you that haven't met yet, welcome to our board. So we went out to bid for 2 items, milk and pizza, but we'll do milk first. We only had 1 bidder, which is Prairie Farms. Our current food distributor is Cole Wholesale, so I did put their figures on there just for comparison. But the one thing that Prairie Farms offers that we don't get from Cole Wholesale is they provide milk coolers, they provide maintenance of those milk coolers, and they provide stocking of those milk coolers when they deliver. milk cooler itself costs about $5,000 a piece. We did those for all those schools. It would price us out of making it worth going with Cole for just our milk alone. So my recommendation is we approve Prairie Farms as our milk provider for the coming school year.
Anyone have any questions for Chad? All right, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Light.
I'll second Colovic.
Boletta?
Yes.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Colovic?
Yes.
Light?
Yes.
Ostermeyer?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes. Section 710, Chad is up again with the much anticipated approval of our pizza bid. I hope you understand how critical of a decision that this is. My own two sons will probably weigh in when I get home.
So we had three bidders. They were, the three bidders I reached out to, they all turned in a bid. Unfortunately, Little Italy's, who's been our provider for a number of years now, I've been here for 8 years and they've been our provider prior to that and all through my 8 years here. They unfortunately didn't turn in all the required documentation and forms that they were supposed to. So they were disqualified from the bid. So the next bidder in line is Domino's. So that's my suggested pizza provider. And just as a side note, we did also do a pizza survey with the intermediate school and the Glenwood Middle School. And the two top choices were Pizza Hut and Domino's. And there was 146 kids chose Pizza Hut, 141 kids chose Domino's, and very close. And the good thing about Domino's, the prices that they provided cover all our schools. So for those of you who don't know, our K through 8 schools are National School Lunch Program schools, and there's certain requirements we have to meet for whole grains. So that price is a whole grain rich pizza along with the pizzas that we would serve at the high school. So it's the same price across the board, which makes it more affordable in the long run also.
Does anybody have any questions for Chad at all?
I actually do.
Yeah?
So I know that Prairie Farms provides the coolers, and I know that each school has the pizza ovens that keep the pizzas warm. Do we own those?
Yeah, the warmers are ours. Those are part of, something we would use part of regular food service, so those are things that we have plenty of on hand. Yeah, not a problem with that. Yeah.
And this is specifically the bid for the school, so I know other organizations, boosters, et cetera, are free to still contract with who they like.
That's purely for the schools. Boosters can do whatever they want, and that would be a discussion that we would have if boosters wanted to tag on to this. I'd have to work with, the approved bidder to say, hey, is this something we can pass on to other groups that might want to use it?
It is probably a conversation we need to have, maybe, and let those folks know, because I know that they consistently use Little Italy's because that was the provider for the school, so I think they probably want to patronize the Domino's probably similarly, would be my guess.
Sure. Yeah.
What other groups use this, just for my own?
It might be athletic events,
Okay,
might be
gotcha.
fundraisers, might be the event at the high school, they might order pizzas, so
Okay.
a number of groups might choose to order from that same place.
Can I get a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion, Boletta.
I'll second Ostermeyer.
Boletta?
Yes.
Coburn?
Yes.
Jeffries?
Yes.
Colovic?
Yes.
Light?
Yes.
Ostermeyer?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes, but I seriously considered abstaining from that, just in case my boys have an issue with it. But yes is the answer. Section 7.11, employment of the pre-K team leaders and 7th through 12th grade department coordinators for the 2025-26 school year. So every year we do have a voluntary release of the leadership in these. So this is the recommendation of the leadership in each of these buildings to fill these positions for the 2025-6 calendar year. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I'm just appreciative that these individuals are willing to step forward to take on a leadership role.
Absolutely. A lot of extra time and a lot of extra effort goes into it, so echo that. Any comments or questions? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Light.
I'll second it. Kolovic?
Boletta,
Yes.
Coburn,
Yes.
Jeffries.
Yes.
Colovic,
Yes.
Light,
Yes.
Ostermeyer,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes. Section 7.12, this is the first reading for these press policies. Again, I'm not gonna go through and read them, there's quite a lot of them that are on there. This is for informational purposes only and presentations. All of those policies are out there and everybody is available and free to read those at any point in time. They're also on the district's websites as well. So those are just put out there. Again, this is the first reading. We will look for approval at the next board meeting unless there's any objections to them. So
I had a few questions on these policies, made some notes, and I kind of want to discuss it here. So it's policy 7.2, 7.2.1, and 7.2, the harassment of students, so those are kind of all tied together in a sense. My question was, for punishment guidelines, we didn't get like show fire type, a lot of people who's running for this role, is, what guidelines are in place for those to ensure that people meet a certain disciplinary action? If it's, like a guideline per se, where if they do something that's can be up to, a 1-day suspension or a 2-day or 3, that we're not overstepping to protect the students, but also protect the staff, etc. So my question is, where, and I haven't seen it, and maybe there is out there, so tell me if there is, but do we have guidelines in place that help provide some guidance towards that keep us in the realm of where we don't overstep?
Yep.
That was something that a lot of people talked to me about. I just wanted to, that was important to me and I wanted to bring that up, so.
So that progressive discipline policy is located in our handbooks.
Okay.
And so, while there is progressive discipline, depending on the severity or the magnitude of the infraction, steps may be, skipped or, looked at. We also are looking at, within that school year, other issues that that student may have had that lend to the outcome. So is that a first offense? Is it a 15th offense? That goes through that policy. What other interventions have been tried? We often are intervening with students before we even hit to a discipline log. So our assistant principals, conveniently in the audience, are mostly in charge of student discipline. And so they're having conversations with students, they're providing interventions for them beforehand. So it also goes to, did the discipline violate a law? So there are just certain things by Illinois code that require certain levels of discipline. One, the most egregious one being a gun or a lookalike weapon of a gun on school property is an automatic expulsion. It's not an option under the state of Illinois. So drug offenses are also, certain drug offenses are also in that, as well as some gang violence, I believe, has some leveled required offenses as well. So in addition to all of that, our assistant principals also work with each other and look at past practice. So we do a lot of conversations as an administrative staff to look at what we have done in the past. Are we staying within the realm of other offenses? They also, before we would move to expulsion or a severe penalty of suspension, multi-day, 10-day suspension, go under a review panel with other administrators. So while one administrator in a building might recommend it, we also then can seek the opinion of an administrator from another building who is not closely or emotionally tied to the issue to get a more unbiased representation for the recommendation, as well as then consulting with me on our high-level discipline cases before we move forward on those.
Okay, so there is a guideline for everything in place?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that was my long answer.
Yeah, no.
Next time I'll answer yes.
The other question I had was on the 631, high school credit for non-district experiences, course substitution, reentry students,
Can you tell me the number again?
6-310.
Mm-hmm.
My question was on here, it talks about vocational and CACC for, trades. So does this eliminate or allow for, students to potentially look to get more encouraged with the trades you know, if it's receiving pass-fail school credit, that's not through a vocational program, so like a, you know, a farmer, a direct employer, or do you have to have sponsorship for that?
So for a student to get credit for something like that, it would come under a work-based learning program,
Okay.
which requires a certified teacher in work-based learning, which we have through CACC.
Okay.
And so they can be placed, in the field and get credit through that particular program towards.
But it has to go through the CACC set. Okay.
There's multiple opportunities through CACC.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
familiar with all that too, so. I was reading through that and that's something we talked about, so I just
Mhm.
wanted to, okay. Those are all my questions.
Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? Again, there's no action item, it's just for information purposes, and I will say that the folks that serve on our policy committee, I want to applaud them. Thank you very much. This is one of our tougher committees for sure because of the amount of reading and investigation and thought that really goes into reviewing all the press policies that are published and making sure that they make sense for our district, and our kids, and what we're trying to accomplish here as a school district. So, the work is extremely important, and I thank Kelvin and Amanda for their service on that committee. So they also volunteered for that first choices. So this wasn't like punitive, and I didn't assign this as a result of not liking either one of them. So we'll move on to section 8 in communications. We have a presentation by Wendy of the amended budget.
Well, I hope it's as exciting as the pizza bid, but. Okay, to kind of give you an overview of school finance, this is fund accounting cash basis. So most schools have 9 funds, we have 8. We do not have the tort fund, Fund 80. So we are going to amend 5 of those funds. Sounds like a lot, but only 2 we're actually amending because of increase in expenses. 3 we're actually amending because we had a bond referendum last year. So the first fund is the education fund. So we increased revenue and expenses, so it's gonna come out as the same as before, other than it's just gonna increase revenue, 670,000 and increase expenses 670,000. So we did this because of the Why Not donation fund. That is not our money, but it does come into our district, so we have to put it on our asset listing, it has to get audited. So we had to increase our assets, and then we also had to increase our expenses because we are paying them out. You know, it's just a flow through. We also received an additional 170,000 in grant funding. Thank you, Chen. It goes through the year, and if the schools actually use their grants and they use them well, then sometimes they'll give us an extra bump of money. Some of the schools just don't spend their money. So we did a really good job with our grants, and so we had an extra $170,000 in grants. I kind of wanted to walk through how we did the bond because it touches 3 different funds, and this is just a very odd thing. So first, whenever you get the bond money, it goes into the working cash fund, okay? From the working cash fund, you have to do what's called abate the working cash fund, and then it goes into operations and maintenance. So once it's in operations and maintenance, you can use it out of operations and maintenance, but we are using the money for projects. So then we transferred it over to capital projects. In the process of doing this, you have to have a revenue in working cash, you have to have an expense out of working cash, a revenue in operations, and then it's just a line. So that's why we have to amend so many different funds. So here we have the O&M fund, operations and maintenance. Again, we're gonna have the revenue coming in and the expense going out. This is just the bond money, it's just a movement. Transportation fund, we are going to amend in expenses. There are a few reasons why we went over budget in transportation more than we were expecting. In the middle of the year, we decided to give all bus drivers health insurance. It was a big expense, but it was well worth it because we just cannot find bus drivers. So our health insurance increased by 91%, so that was unexpected. We also bought 19 new buses this year. When we bought the 19 new buses, we had 22,000 in repairs that we weren't expecting, an additional 23,000 in new camera systems for the buses. We had 45,000 in clerical overtime, and that is due to the lack of drivers. That's why we increased the health insurance, trying to get drivers in there because we were paying numerous amounts in overtime.
Is the health insurance increase that night, is that annualized or is that just for the part of the year, that halfway through the year?
That was, it started, can you tell me when it started? I think it was at the beginning of the year, whenever the,
August.
yeah,
That's fully.
so it was the full year, yep.
Cool.
And then finally, the 31% increase in special education, it's a third party that we use for HOPE and for the special education busing. So it went from 113,000 to 175,000. That is something that we are working on. I know it sounds huge, but next year we will get reimbursed for most of that because most of the money that goes into transportation, we get back. Just like the 19 buses, you're gonna see later, it shows a huge expense for this year, but we will get depreciation on those buses at the next transportation. Yes. thank
Was
you.
the increase in special ed as a result of not using the Springfield Menta because they weren't certified, or was that a?
No.
Was that a?
No, it was just an increase in fees.
Okay.
Just an increase in rates. Okay, then capital projects, again, you have the revenue in, revenue out, it's just the bond. This is just kind of an overview, the original budget versus the amended budget. It just shows how much we changed each fund. So education fund revenue increased $670,000, but it also increased in expenses $670,000. Then you have the O&M, capital projects and working cash, all increasing the 1.5 million in revenue and expenses, and then you have an expense extra in transportation of 250,000.
I had a question on this. On the revenue from the original, just help me understand, when I was looking at this, it goes from 69, so it's a 5.4 increase. What's the difference between the original budget and the amended budget that would change?
It's just the $250,000, honestly. I mean, your revenues and expenses are going up, but the only real true difference is the $250,000 in expenses and transportation. You're increasing revenue, you're increasing expenses in education fund, actually in all of them except for transportation.
Can you go back one more? It's on the original budget versus amended.
Oh.
So that's what I'm talking about, the 5.4 on the left.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what's the difference between the original versus the amended for revenue?
Okay, so the original, I don't know what you're saying to me. The 5.4 million is the surplus deficit, so that's the difference. So there's a 670, the 1.5, 1.5, that's how much additional revenue from the original to the amended.
And what's driving that is my question. Is that the bonds or?
Yes, so the 670,000 in education, which is the why not and the grants.
Okay, I will get, yep,
You got it?
yep. I thought it was a difference in like revenue sources and like why did it change $5 million? So no, that makes sense.
Yep, no, and that is really gonna throw you off, not you, but it's, at the end here, I know exactly what you're doing, because it'll show that the expenses are more than the revenue, which in all reality, it's not. We just have $5 million that we're moving and not really spending, so we'll see that later. Yeah. Okay, so just kind of give you an overview of where our money comes from for the budget. Local, state, and federal is the revenue sources that we have. We are 77% local funded, 63% of that is from levies. State funding is 19%, that's your evidence-based funding and a few grants. Federal is always grants, but as you can see, we are funded mostly by local taxes. Expenditures, we are 62% salaries and benefits, which is pretty good for our school. Where it has other of the 13%, that is bonds. So we spend about $6 million a year in bonds. That is not money that comes out of the district, that is money that is levied every year. So our biggest focus is salaries and benefits, as it should be. And then the history of operating, revenue, expense, and fund balances. This is where I was telling you, the year 2025, it looks like the expenses have really increased. Okay, first of all, we bought 19 new buses this year, so that's going to be a huge expense. And on top of that, that is moving that 1.5 million 3 times. So you have an additional 5 million in expenses. That's not really an expense, it's just a movement. But this is something I keep an eye on, so I do wanted to kind of show this to you. So does anybody have any questions?
I think it's important to make note that the revenue bond that the last board decided to approve was specific to certain projects that we have. We have a large facilities expense worksheet, if you wanna call it, of deferred maintenance and things that we need to fix and ongoing thing. It's a list of all of the potential, issues and things that we have scheduled for replacement, and that we know will need repair in the next 1 to 20 years, all allocated out according to priorities and when those things will come. So we identified a couple of projects that were immediately needing to do, and we had some room underneath our bonding, and it was a no tax increase to the district to do that. It just leveled off what we had been existingly paying in debt service and bonding. So it was really just a great opportunity to get an influx of cash, well within our levy authority, again, not increasing the taxes here, but to address some major projects that we needed to get done. So, and that, as a result of that, that's all the movement that you're seeing in why the amended budget.
Yep. Thank you. Very well explained.
And so this is just the presentation, and then the amended budget will be approved at the June board meeting.
Yes.
So giving us the legal timeline of which the public has to be informed of this information before it can be voted upon.
Okay, anybody have any further questions or comments that they wanna make? Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Moving on to 8.02, future board meeting dates.
I need to make an addition to this agenda item, so we are also posting today for a closed session meeting on Friday, May 30th, as a potential negotiation date for BCSD5.
Again, there is no action item here. This is just for information purposes only. Just has several of our other committee meetings and when they're scheduled, which are all public open meetings. So anybody is more than welcome to attend any of those. It's just not for the committee members and the board. So encourage people that if they have questions or would like to do that, to please come. Section 8.03, this is the citizens' opportunity and visitors to address the school board concerning any topic that they so choose. Seeing none, we will move on to section 9, adjournment, section 9.01. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Jeffries moved. Valletta?
Yep.
Coburn?
Yes.